Okay, yeah. So welcome everybody. Just before we start loading our data, I just want to explain some of the platform, some of the tools or the tabs we need to get familiar with in Power BI. This is our main Power BI canvas where we do all the eating. Let me put it eating here. This is just like a dining table where we now come after we have food in the kitchen, which is the Power BI query, where we do all the cooking, we prepare our jollof rice and fried rice. So just 1 second, please. Yeah, so we have key important tab here, which is the report view, the data view, and the modeling. One of the most important aspects of Power BI is this modeling. But now we don't have any data here, so nothing is showing here. Yeah, but we'll just get along when we start the main building of the report. Also to mention that these are some tools bar here, the insert, the home, the modeling, the view, whereby you can do a customize like a calculated table or a measure. You can do that in all this modeling tab as well. Of course, if you want to adjust your view, you want to page view, mobile layout, and you want to activate some of your functions here, like the data, the selection, and the bookmark, you can see all those here. And when it comes to optimization, maybe you want to look at how people are able to access your report in terms of how your visuals are loading. This is common when we have a huge number of data and you have a lot of things to visualize, and you don't want to do a report that is going to slow your consumers down. Yeah, so just as you just mentioned, this area, and we have the visuals here. So in case you don't have this same screen I have on my screen, you may need to, because before now it used to be somewhere here at the right hand side here, but the new update of the Power BI, we have this here. So you may just want to update your Power BI if you don't have the same screen here. So the next thing we need to do now is to load our data, and we have, series of data. It can either be the SQL, the One Lake, Excel, or you can come here and look at all the connections where you can import your data. But the one that we are going to look today is going to be on Excel workbook. Yeah. So once we click on get data, you may click from here or you may click here. So Excel workbook, I'll just try and locate. Yeah, this is the data set, and I think much has been discussed about the data set. These are how the data look like. We have the project, the Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, and we have how times of the capital and revenue for all these projects. So going back into our Power BI, so we're gonna load this data now, where we do all the cleaning, all the cooking in the Power BI query. So just click on load. It's as simple as that. Just give it a few seconds to load. Right. So here now, we could see this is the Excel workbook that we have loaded, but in between the Excel, there are sheets and there are tables. Yeah, depending on how the data is being structured, but the one we are going to focus now is just on this the sheet, because it contains everything we need. If you look at this data, it's a messy. The data is a form of dirty, but we don't want to go ahead and load this into our Power BI canvas, because we still want to go and do the cleaning in the Power BI kitchen, which I call Power Query. So in this here, we have load, transform, and cancel. Can you please go on mute if you're not speaking? Oh, thank you. Yeah. So as I mentioned, one of the temptation about this is you will see load, transform. You will think, okay, the next step for you to go is to load, but that is not the case. So the first thing, even if your data is 100% clean, you may want to cultivate this habit by, okay, I need to go and see how my data look like in the kitchen, which is the Power BI query. So I would say do not click on this load at any point in time. Yeah, I will say this is a mistake from Microsoft. Probably they will improve on this, switch this tab. But let's just go to the transform data and see what we are going to do here. Yeah, so this is our Power BI query. This is like, the main machine of Power BI, I must say, because it has all the tools that we need to do, the transformation we need to do and make the data ready for use. So, yeah, if you look at...
Sorry, Mr. Azim, we can't see your Power Query. We are seeing the Power BI itself.
Oh, really? Okay, 1 second. I think I need to... let me stop and to share again. I thought I shared my entire screen. Okay. Okay. Sorry, is it visible now?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Right. So this is the data we load. We've loaded this data now in our Power BI query, the Power Query editor rather. So you can see the column, some of the transformations has been carried out here. Maybe let me remove some of those things. Remove some of those things. Yeah. This, at any point in time, we can always like Control Z, in our, let's say Excel, Word, and other, we have Control Z, but here we have apply steps. Any point in time, we can always see whatever we have done in the course of transforming our data, right? Okay. So the first thing we need to do now, we can see some null value here. We can see some of those things that we don't need. And our actual heading start from this row 2. We can see here, this is what we need. So we need to do a form of transformation and transform this back into as our header, right? So let's first of all remove, we can remove the first row. Let's remove the first row first. Then we can now transform this to as header. So for us to do that, you can see remove rows from here, right under the home tab. Remove rows, remove tops rows. How many rows? Is going to go and open up how many rows do I want to remove. Let's assume I don't need this row 2 as well. I can say number of rows is 2 to remove, but I'm just going to say remove the first row. Then what next? You can see this other one as promoted here, and I can now make this one use first row as headers, right? Are we following, or I'm speaking too fast? Fast rather. You can always caution me if that is the case.
Yeah, we are following. You can just calm down a bit.
Okay, sorry. Sorry. All right. So right now we've done the first transformation, which is first row as header. Let's say, for example, along the way, you say, oh, I've mistakenly delete, or I'm not supposed to promote that header. These are the steps here. I can always delete this step and my data will come back to initial form. So the next thing we want to do is we can see some null value here. Actually, we've been able to promote our heading. Our heading is accurate, but there are null values here. So we can do some further transformation and say, okay, I want to remove all the null value. Yeah. And also to mention that these are totals here. We can see total match, capital totals revenue. In Power BI, we don't need all this, let me say, we don't need all all this here, all this total that wherever we are bringing it from our Excel, we don't need it. We don't need it. So what we're going to do is that we're going to remove all these things. We're going to remove them, and we'll do our calculation ourselves in the Power BI when we move into the Power BI canvas. So let me just close this up. I need to clear this from the screen. All right, okay. So now let's remove this null value. I'm going to, I think I should do this particular column 2 because I can just remove null value from this one and all this one can go away. But because I want to minimize the steps that I want to apply in my transformation. So let's just go here. I'm just going to remove uncheck the null value, just like I'm filtering the row out, not to include anything on null. Right, it's making sense, right? So we can see funding. This is the main project. We can see all this here. However, there are still some null value here, and I can see some null value here. So nothing to worry about this. And we are going to do a form of transformation in our Excel. You could see when you want to transform, let's say a particular data is on row basis, and you want to transform it into what's it called, column. You know, we have this special transformation where it's okay, transpose, just like transpose. But in this case, we want to do function called onPivot column. So it's going to take some of this column and turn it the other way, right? So let me just, these are the columns that I want to, but before I do that, there are other columns here, like this column 8, even this total, we might not even need them. As I mentioned, we can always get our total in our Power BI ourselves. So will you agree to me that I take this, all this other column off? Yeah. Are we still together? Do you agree with me? I take all this off, or I shouldn't, just so we are on the same page?
Please do, sir.
Okay, thank you, ma. So I can go on and say, okay, remove column one by one, but because I want to minimize the steps I'm performing in my transformation, so I can highlight all this at a go and say remove columns, and that will be in a one step. Okay, so let's just go ahead. Can just delete this. Right, so I'll just take this remove columns. Yeah, so everything's look perfect now. So what we need to do now, we can now do our onPivot column. So the column that we want to onPivot now is this two, because we need the months and we need the quarter. During the transformation, we can easily get our quarter a year, and we can get this month, and this will be the, I think these are the sales amount. Let's assume these are the sales amount. So I'm just going to click. There are two ways we can do that. You can either click on the column you want to transform, or the other one and say pivot this column, and either of the way. But let me just do the first one first. Now, what we just need to do is to right click after I've highlighted all these columns that I want to pivot, and you can even also get them. Okay, I think, let me go back. I need to highlight this. Then what I need to do is to just right click. Yeah, these are series of transformation I can do. Can remove columns. Let's assume I want to remove this column. I can remove this. I can remove duplicates, remove errors, field. I'm still going to use this field option. We can do change data type, merge column, sum, but we do one particular one we want to use is this onPivot column. As I mentioned, you can see the columns I'm highlighted here that I can say onPivot columns. But let's say I have a lot of columns, maybe like 1 to 10, and I don't want to start clicking each one of them one by one, I highlight them. I can just click on these two other columns here, this one, and say, by the time I highlight this one, I can right click and say onPivot other columns. Yeah, that's another way. It's either you highlight the one you want to onPivot, or you highlight the one that you don't want to pivot. And that case, you use onPivot other columns. But in this case now, I'm going to say onPivot these particular columns, and you watch how the magic is going to unfold now, right? So we can see now the transformation has been done. We can see we now have our dates, the quarter, which we can further split this into two and separate by quarter and months. Then this is the value. Okay, are we still together?
Yes, sir.
Okay, any question at this point?
No, for me.
Sorry, I do have a question. My name is Ayo. I'm just thinking, for those people who don't really understand your terminology, when you say on pivot, I think it would be a good idea to actually explain to the audience what you mean. What does pivot even mean when you say something is pivot? And if you're on pivoting, what are you trying to achieve? Thank you.
Okay, let me just use the normal Excel that we are very conversant with. I'm just going to try and drag this. Yeah, let's say I have this data here now, and I want it to be, let me do another one. Let me just do some things here. Let's say I have names. I'm going to call this one names, and I have this one's value. Yeah. So this data is in a column view, but I want it to move into a row. So just like the way normal transformation we do in our Excel. So I can transpose this one now. By the time I click, let's say I copy this, and I want to, okay, I think we have some senior Power BI developer in the house. Okay, yeah. So I can copy this one now. Let's say assuming I want to, I want to make this data in form of a column, in form of a row rather, because it's in column, 2 column, and I want to make it times of rows whereby they can come to the other side, like turning data the other way. So we all know familiar with this, like I can say, okay, paste special and go to transpose. Yeah. So just like what we mean by on pivot column, you can see I've been able to transform this data now. This was in form of a column before, but it's now in row. So that's sorry for the background noise. Yeah. So yeah, this is what the on pivot means, changing the orientation of your data. Maybe Madam can also speak on this on pivot column. Ma'am, do you want to?
You've said this well, sir. So if we are conversant with a pivot table in Excel, so you put something in pivot table, like you have just, so you've got your normal columns, rows, all the data inside them. Then we say inside pivot table, we are able to do different types of how we can see them. Okay, for example, if I've got 10 rows or 10 columns, which is not helping me to see the actual data that I want to really concern myself with. In Excel, we take it into pivot table where we can select the columns we want to interact together. For example, I've got the database of a whole school where they've got the names of teachers, names of students, names of prefects, and other roles like that. But I don't want to look at the whole database. It's confusing me. I only want to see teachers and their students. So in pivot table, I am able to pick up or bring me all the teachers and bring me the names of corresponding students. That is a pivot table. Now on pivot is you are doing the opposites. You are saying, okay, just dismantle all of them. I don't want to see them in this format anymore. The report that was brought in, it was brought in as a form of a report, like it was already in a pivot table form. That's what it looks like. The need to unpivot is that I don't want this orientation anymore. I don't want what you have in the columns to be columns. I want them to become rows. And what you have in the rows, I want them to become a whole column. You know, that is exactly what pivot means. I hope that drives home for all of us.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ma. Thank you. So I think our data is getting shape. But before you see, we can still see some null value here, which is not too good to load null value, an empty data into your Power BI, and even your other tools that we want to use to analyze data. It's not always good to have a null value. So we could use another function here, which is called the fill down. Yeah. So such as we can use the fill down, we can use the fill up, but in this particular case, the one that is going to be ideal for us to use is the fill down, because what it means is that whatever we have here at the top is going to fill it down up to here, because this is an empty space. Even here as well, this is another thing. But if you say you should fill from down to up, that means it may fill this null value, it may fill it up, and if I start from here, it may fill revenue up to this place. However, where our revenue actually started is from here. So let's just go ahead and do one particular transformation here.
Sorry, sir. Sorry, sir. Can you show us both the fill up and fill down? We can always undo.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. So let me say fill up now. Let's see that. Right. Even though, yeah, you can see that's filled this up, but it's not able to capture this other one here. So that's the fill up. So the fill up in this case is not ideal for us to use. So let me remove it and use fill down. Right, you can see now it worked perfect. Everything worked like magic here, and we can even see the revenue was able to fill down, the capital was able to fill down as well. Yeah. So any question on this particular step? We could do a lot of things in this transformation, which the next one we could even say replace value, but because we have, if I had used replace value, okay, let me just try. I say replace value null with capital. So what it means is that even though this other null value here, it has automatically picked it as capital. So this one is not ideal for us to use. That's why I didn't go for the replace value. But in some certain scenario whereby you just need to replace maybe let's say, for example, the way you name your April, just like what happened here. You can say APRI is what April, but the other ones are maybe like the three alphabets style. You can say April, June, JUNMAADC. So I can use replace in that one to say, okay, I want to replace anything on APRI as APR, and everything will work like magic. So let me just go back and do the fill again, fill down. Yeah, okay. So this is fine. The next thing we need to also do now, we have our quarter here and we have our April, June, our month here. So we need to do it in form of transformation. And what transformation we are going to use here is to split, split column. All you just need to do, right click on the particular column and click on split column, and you can see, okay, split by delimiter, character, position, or as the case may be. But so this one, let me say I'm going to split by delimiter. So it's asking me that which of the delimiter, is it the bracket that I want to split with? Is it the one at the right, or is it the one at the left? So I can say, okay, let's just go ahead and say, okay, whatever, just split this column for me. Let's see what this is going to look like. Right. You can see we have our quarter here now. We have our quarter. It has split this column. I can do another way. Okay, let me just go back again and say, let's try another one. Split column. Let's try another one. Let's say delimiter. Yeah. Again, maybe I think there is a space in between Q1 and this. Let's say I want to use space. Right. Okay, you can see it splits those data for me in different ways. You can see it's anywhere that is it was able to pick the space. It splitted the data for me all around. You can see sorry for the background noise. Sorry about that. So there are about four, it splitted this data into 4 or 5 different ways, which I don't want. So let me go back and do the first one that we did, split column by delimiter. I'll just say, okay, each occurrence of the delimiter is fine. Okay, that's fine. This as well, I can also split by this other delimiter, which is the other bracket, and remove this bracket away from here. Split column by delimiter. So what I want to split is the other bracket, which is the close bracket. Right. Okay. Data is taking shape now. So this one, I can delete this column, remove columns. Yeah, you can see here now. So now let's see this tree. I don't want the I there. I can use the replace data, which is replace values rather. Replace values. I can say, okay, you know what? Anywhere that you have April that has I, replace it with for me with APR. Yeah, you can see work perfect. Yeah. So any question at this point?
It's just those corner ABC 1, 2, 3s that me I've got questions about. What are they?
Okay, fine. Thank you, Ma. So these are the types of data, like for example, these are more like a text data when you see ABC, and you can always change. If you look at to your top corner or to your top here, you will see like this column that I selected now, you see data type. Let's assume this is not supposed to be a text data. I can always change it. For example, this one that we have value here is a whole number. So let's say we want to change it to a decimal because maybe we are going to replace it as our sales or our values. So let me just go ahead and change this and say, okay, you know what? I want this in decimal. And that's it. You can change the data to decimal. You can change it to decimal. Let's say, okay, I want this data in text format. You can go ahead and change it to text. So I'm just going to go ahead. Okay, whatever. Yeah. It can come out in text as shown here. But if you have a data that's supposed to be in number, and you have it in text, you may not be able to do some arithmetic calculation, which you don't want, mismatch of data type when you are transforming your data. So let me just go back and knock this one off. Knock this off. These other steps to, yeah, okay, that's fine. Let's see, okay, we have this in text, this is fine. We have this in text is fine. We have this in text is fine. We have this in text is fine, and this is in a whole number. You can either use it as a whole number, or we can even use it as, let me see if I could get, change it to currency. I think there's a way we can change it to currency. It's not shown here. Let's say fixed decimal. Yeah, fixed decimal it work. I don't know, somebody hands is raised.
Yes, sorry, please. I have a quick question just before I forget. I'm sorry, I have the Power BI desktop open on my laptop now. So I was just considering there's this part of the system that I'm not seeing on my own part, this valid error empty. I think it's good for the table to be able to identify. So I was going to know how to come up with that on my own.
Okay, okay.
But
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, so if you go to some of the your toolbars here, when you click on the view, I actually turned this one on just to give me an insight of how my data is looking. You could see when you go to the view, you can see column quality. I can turn even column profile, column distribution. I can turn all these ones on, but sometimes it slowed my Power BI, especially this column distribution. So the one that I normally pick is the column quality, which is at a glance, I can see how my data is doing. Okay, how many empty cells are in this particular column? How many, null value error? Yeah. So that's how you can turn it on.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah. Okay. So one other thing we need to do now, we could see, okay, everything is looking good, but what does this attribute.1 mean? Attribute.2.1 mean? So we need to do some renaming, and how we can do that. I can just double click here and rename this particular table as well. There are different ways you can rename it, but because of our time and to move forward, we can, whenever we have in subsequent session, we could explain. There are different ways you can do a lot of things with Power BI. Yeah, so it's not a one-way thing. There are different ways you can do it. So let me just rename this as quarter here. Quarter. But the danger of this is that it's going to add another step for me. Let's assume I don't want this step. Let me see how I can think there is another way I can do that without adding these steps. Trying to see the split column. Okay, I think I should have just renamed it inside here when I did the transformation, but it's fine. Let me just go ahead and rename it from here. Then I can call this my month. Okay, yeah. So any question?
Just
We have
that.
to, we have to rename the year as well too.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's true. I missed this, so we can say capital. Let me just say capital revenue. Let me call it capital revenue. And this fund, let's say we can call this the projects. Yeah. Projects. Okay. Right. All right. Yeah, I think this is perfect. It's nearly perfect, rather. Sorry, ma'am. I think I thought you wanted to say something earlier on.
No, it was picked up. Just those columns that we needed to rename, but you've done it.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you. So here let's rename this because we don't want this sheet. So we can rename this our sheet, our Excel workbook. Let's say we can rename it as Suftnet funding or project funding. Yeah. Project funding. Okay. Right. So we have this nearly done now. Maybe yeah, we could have had a customized column as mentioned earlier that say, okay, if based on the value, let's say if it is greater than 3,000 above target, if it is otherwise below target less than 3,000, But maybe for the purpose of this session now, we are not going to do that in this scope. Yeah, so let's just, we can come back when we go to our Power BI canvas and do that. And we can actually even do it inside our Power BI desktop as well. So at this point, are we clear on all the steps that we have done here? Am I being heard?
Yes.
Yeah, are
Yes.
we together?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we've done all the transformation, and what we just need to do is say close and apply. You can say, do you want to apply only? Do you want to close without applying? Yeah, just to say close and apply, and it will take us directly to our Power BI. Please, can you just confirm to me that you are still seeing my screen?
Yes.
Yes, we
Okay.
are.
Okay. All right. Fantastic. Yeah. So as I mentioned, the three important view tab in this Power BI desktop is this report. This is where we do all the visualization. Then here, if you want to have a peek of how the data is looking, yeah, this is the data. You can see all the transformation. You know, you could imagine if we had just gone ahead and load that data raw like that, this would have been a messy. So, but all the transformation we've done, you know, like the kitchen, when we are doing our jollof rice and fried rice in the kitchen, all those Maggi and seasoning stuff, they'll stay there, but this is not going to come to the dining table. So, which is exactly what is happening here. And in this model view, this is where we can do all the, excuse me, we can do all the transformation in terms of, okay, uh, doing modeling, because yeah, of course we only have one table here, so we don't need to do any modeling in this case. So let's just go back to our visuals. So let's just create, okay, let's create a particular one. I think I took a snapshot of that earlier on. Okay, let's say we want to see revenue, capital revenue. Yeah, let's say we want to do this. So I could say, just pick a donut chart here. Yeah, values, I can add this value here. And I want to put this in the legend. Yeah. So you can see just by dragging and drop, we have built our first visuals here, which can be easily seen at a glance. Okay, the other one we can also do is let's do okay, let's create a example of this particular table here that we have here. Let's say I have my project and I have my value here. Oh, okay, it's automatically even turned into a cluster bar chart for me, where if I don't want this, I can switch it back to table just by clicking here and everything will come back to table. But I think I'll prefer this one. So yeah, I prefer this. The other chart we can do, let me see. Okay, this is like a replication of this. So yeah, it's fine. Let's create a form of another table as well. So I can just copy this one and paste it. So because I wanted to do the same, use the same type of data. So I just copy and paste and I can switch, you know, directly, just switch to what I want it to look like. Let's say I'm copying this again, copy and paste, right? I want to switch it to a donut chart as well, or maybe a pie chart. But if you look at this, this is too busy. So in case maybe we want to, in future, we're trying to do a visuals and we have our variable is more than 3 or 4, it's not always advisable to use pie chart and donut chart because it's very busy. So that means your stakeholders or your consumers of your report now will have to say, okay, I think this is blue. It means Shopee. I think this is deep blue, it means zero. Yeah, of course. But you can even see at a glance here, even either the table or the column bar chart here, you can see that at a glance. But for this, I'll just leave it pie chart. Let's say I put it there. So what else do we need to do?
So sorry, when your variables are busy, so what is advisable to use?
Okay, like for example, you can represent it as a table, which is nearly okay for me. This one is easily readable, or even the column cluster bar chart, either this one or the other one. You can see this is at a glance. I can see the project that has more value, which is the Shopee, the Jero, rather than having this here and say, okay, I'll start trying to trace the color, trying to look at, okay, where is the portion of it in the pie chart or in the donut. Yeah. So there are different, visuals that you can use, even a custom visuals that you can import, but let's stay within this scope for now. I can even change this to this, see how it look like. Yeah. So different visuals we have depending on your stakeholders, your consumers of your reports, and the objective of developing the report. Does that make sense, ma'am?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So let's add slicer. I think there was a slicer in that screenshot. Let's say, okay, I have a slicer here. Let's take this cutter and drag it inside. Right, perfect. Okay, so let me see. I'll just tap this one here. Put this cutter here. Yeah. I'll put this here. Put this here. Okay. So let's say we want to have a card. At a glance, we want to see, okay, the total value, capital and revenue, just at a glance. So let me just use this card. I'll just use this card here. I'm not going to do any measure. I'll just try and use this value. If you look at this value now, it's inclusive of both capital and revenue, but that's not what I want. I want to say, okay, let's say I want to show only the revenue, only the capital. So I'll just use a filter here, capital revenue, and I'll say, okay, you know what? I need just only the capital. Yeah. So I can rename this and say, okay, this one is, let me just double click, revenue. Okay, sorry, capital. Yeah. I didn't want to go into the DAX for the purpose of this session. So that's why I'm trying to use the filter instead. I could have just write one formula, say, you know what, calculate the total value where capital revenue is capital, and I can get it with just a click. But I'll just use this for now. Let me say I have this one here. I'll copy and paste this. Let's do the same thing for the revenue. Filter. I'll just, okay, I need only for revenue. Only for revenue. So I can rename this. And one thing about the new Power BI is that you can always double click in any of these things and edit directly, unlike the previous one whereby you have to go and start looking for where it is here and start editing. So that's one of the flexibility Microsoft has improved in this new version. So this is revenue total. Okay, right. What else? Okay, we are left with to add the slicer for the month. Okay, I'll just copy and paste this, copy and paste. Okay, so let's look for our month now. Months. So just remove this and replace with months. Yeah, and that's it. That's it here. You can apply the filter and see how it look like. Yeah, you can say, okay, you know what, I want to filter by month, April to June. I want to see this. Maybe we can also put slicer for the project as well. Let's say I put a slicer for the project somewhere up there. Okay, I can just copy this, copy and paste. Let me remove this filter. Let's say I'm posting the project here. I can change this and say, okay, project here. And I can change this to a drop down, or maybe it may be a drop down, or it may be in form of tile. So let me change this one to a drop down. Format, more options. You know, once you click on format, it's going to open format option for you here, and you can do a lot of customization, how you want it to look like. Same as all these visuals, you can change the color, you can change it, add label to this, increase the font. So I want to change this one to drop down, whereby I can just click a drop down here and click OK. You know what? I want to see all these projects, and you can see the beauty, how the whole thing is working. You know, there is a form of synchronization between each of these data. As I apply one filter, everything affects the whole dashboard. Yeah. So this is it for this session. I don't know if we have any.
Sorry,
question.
please, can you go back? Where did you click that drop down to have the drop down?
Okay. Once you click on format, by the time you click on your format, your visuals, it's going to open this pane here for you, where you can do a lot of transformation. The size, you can resize this. So let's say under the slicer settings, I have options. Style, is it vertical? Is it tile? I can change it to tile. That means you can just, okay, let me change this one to tile. This other cutter here, can change this to tile. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Okay, slicer settings. Yeah. So let's say I want this to be tile. Like the user can just click without even just click like a normal, as if you are clicking a button, right? So I can make this one here. So this other one here, let me change it back to drop down. And you can always do a lot of customization. You know, that's another, you know, add more aesthetics to your reports. That's another discussion for another session, rather. So this is how it look like. We can do a lot of things, change the color. Let me add the label to this. Data labels, yes, I on this. Let me change, okay, I don't want this blue color. I need another color. Let me change to this. So, yeah. Then at the end of it, everything is done. I can go ahead and publish my report where, you know, the consumers will be able to have access to it. So this is just like your own internal, the way you have all the report build, the build platform. Then once you're done, you push it to the Power BI service. It's also to mention that we have two types of the Power BI, you know, two versions. We have the Power BI desktop and we have the Power BI services. So in the Power BI desktop, that's where we do all the building, the transformation, loading data, you know, create our visuals. Then the Power BI services is where you can add more customization, you know, in terms of people can able to access your reports, who have access, what type of row level security you want to put there. You can announce, okay, I want to create it into a dashboard, because what we have done here, it's a report, not a dashboard. But a lot of people try to mix it up, say, okay, this is the dashboard. So this is not a dashboard. A dashboard is a collection of each of these visuals, card, charts, where we can. Okay, I think we are still going to talk about that, but this is what we are going to we've done today. Maybe I will just try and publish this, and let's see how the end user will be able to see all these reports. Let me just publish this for the purpose of this. Okay, I have not saved this. Yeah.
No, but before you publish, please.
Yeah.
Sorry, I can't see, you know, where you change it to the drop down, I can't see the format on my system here.
Okay.
And I'm on Slicer. I believe we did it from Slicer.
Okay. Okay. Once you click on the slicer,
Yeah.
you click on the format visuals.
No.
You'll see we are using the latest version to draw this up for you. If not, it's just going to take you directly to the format section here. If not, you just click on more options and that format will open up for you.
I can see filters on visual. It's the same thing. Something like a funnel like this.
No. That's the filter page.
That's the filter page. Okay.
Right. So let me just go ahead, because of our time, I'll just go ahead and publish this. Let's say I'm just going to put this in my workspace for now. It's coming. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so let me just try and get this off. Right. So this is what the consumer will see. So once I add people to my workspace, they can have view these reports and play with it, play around with it, and do a lot of things about it. Yeah. So that's it for today from me, ma'am. Or back to you.
Thank you so very much. Wow, you took us on a very, very long journey, which did not seem long at all.
How do we get that Power BI services?
Okay, what you just need to do, you can create a developer account for now, and Microsoft will give you the access where you can do all this your personal project, and yeah.
Maybe you take us on that, maybe some other thing.
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I just want to recap the last bit. So once we've worked on the Power BI desktop, so the service is where when you publish it, then you'll be able to, is it the same thing that the one you create like an access link to each department that they can access the dashboard and update whatever, anything they want? So is it the same thing or is it different?
It's the same thing, but they cannot alter the report. It is once you publish to the service, it becomes like a network whereby a lot of people can go in there and see what's going on. Yeah, and see how the data, how the team is performing in terms of the KPI that has been set. So it can also be embedded in the Teams channel, which most of organizations do have it embedded in the Teams channel, or even embed it in their SharePoint page.
Okay. Okay, so it's just for viewing purpose. So others can't really input anything into it.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Have we got any more questions? I just want to say a very huge thank you. Let me stop recording.